Hello Turcaholics, and thank you for downloading this episode of Football a la Turca. We hope you enjoy our podcast and the work we put into bringing it to you each and every week completely free. But for those of you who want to support the show, you can join us on Patreon for just $3 a month. Money we'll use to continue improving our hardware, software, and fund our annual hosting on Podbean. You can do so on patreon.com/FALT. Or just check the show notes. Thank you for your consideration of patronage, and enjoy the show. Hello Turcaholics, and welcome to another episode of Football a la Turca. This is season 2, episode 7, and my name is Kaan Bayazit. I'm joined once again by Umut Naderi and the man of the law, Burak Sezgin.
Hello. I am coming straight off a birthday, so I guess it's my fault we're getting this episode a little bit later than you would have expected, dear Turcaholics. So forgive me, the old man had to go out and celebrate with a nice half pint and bowl of pasta, but we are back.
A half pint and a bowl of pasta, that's a wild celebration right there, Umut. Burak, were you eating that like at the bottom of a stripper or something? Or like a sushi girl? Pasta girl? No, none of those disgusting ideas. I'm sure if Özer was in town, he would have taken me to some establishment like that. But no, I went out with my mother for a nice, just quiet meal. Yeah, so definitely. Good thing you didn't have a sushi girl. Did you ever see that movie with Mark Hamill, Sushi Girl?
No, but I want to now.
It's a good film. It doesn't get great ratings, but it's I enjoyed it. It was good. Should definitely give it a watch. It came out a couple of years ago, and Luke Skywalker is unrecognizable in that movie, I can tell you. Umut, how's your first week of university in the UK?
Well, I'm getting used to it. It's fine.
Yeah, were you forced in a lot of drinking games by your fellow students?
Yes, exactly. The penny game was the surprising one, obviously, because they threw a penny inside your glass and expect you to finish the whole pint.
Oh, poor you. Well, Burak, happy birthday to you, my friend.
Yeah, happy birthday.
And
thanks, guys.
How young are you now, Burak?
How old are you now?
Let's take guesses. The first person to guess it correctly on Twitter will win a prize, yet to be determined.
Okay, that's a good one. So people go and tweet at Footy a la Turca and guess Burak's age, and apparently you're getting a prize if you guess it right. The first person to guess it right.
You heard it here first, folks.
It's gonna be like a personal ballad or something by Burak, I suppose.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. It's got to be worth it though. So get guessing.
Let's move on to the match day 6 results in the Turkish Super League then. And on Friday we started off with Başakşehir Rizespor. Başakşehir getting an emphatic 5-0 win over Çaykur Rizespor. Goals here coming in the 19th minute through Daniel Aleksic, in the 33rd minute by Frederik Gulbrandsen. Daniel Aleksic got on the score sheet again in the 73rd minute. And in the 87th minute, Enzo Crivelli made it 4-0, and then finally Irfan Can Kahveci with a long-range shot made it 5-0 in added time. Convincing win for Başakşehir, who started off slowly in the beginning of the season, but they seem to have finally gotten back on track here. Not really too much to add to this match. And as you will be noticing, we're changing up the format a little bit, people. We're going to talk less. We're going to have less people speak on the matches. We're just going to go over them. We've assigned each match to another person, and that person is going to take the lead on those matches. I'll still be going over the scoreline and stuff like that. But anyway, for this game, guys, do you have anything to add? It was really a convincing win for Başakşehir here. Are they back out? Are they out of their slump, I should say? They got a draw against Besiktas last week. Probably should have gotten the win there. Now, very good win over Çaykur Rizespor. Quickly, your thoughts, guys. Do you think they are good to go, or do they have the engine running now?
Well, I think Rizespor, they had lost 2 games in a row, so they were kind of on a bit of a slump. I'm just surprised that Edin Visca only got 1 assist and no goals, despite the fact that we had such a high scoreline. But I still don't think Başakşehir will finish in the top 4, top 5 this season.
Daniel Alexic having an impact though, 2 goals here, and he impressed me. I think last week it was his shot that got scuffed and ended up in front of Enzo Crivelli's feet. It wasn't a great shot, but it ended up in the right place. And then I think the week before that he scored or was involved at least. So Alexic definitely picking up where he left off at Malatya before his very short stint in the sandbox. Now back in Turkey, quality player, of course. I think he is a great replacement for Mosoro, who was, of course, aging out. Are you a fan of Alexic, Umut?
Well, he's right now playing in a different position where he used to play for Malatya.
He played more on the wing for Malatya.
Yeah. Right now he's playing more a central role and having the general kind of position. Dictating the game from the middle kind of position, and I think he's working out well for him.
Yeah, fully agree. Great player, and I think I don't know about the top 5. I would have agreed with you, Burak, initially because I would have expected Besiktas to finish top 5, but as that's currently standing, I don't think they'll be making it. So that opens up a spot. Alanyaspor, of course, looking great. But, Fenerbahçe, Trabzonspor, Galatasaray seem logical choices. Then Alanyaspor doing well. But then there's a couple of teams, I think, vying for that 5th spot. I could see Başakşehir sneak in there. Maybe if Malatyaspor have a good season again under Sezgin. But they didn't have a great match today, but we'll get to that later. But let's move over to Saturday with Denizlispor losing at home to Kasımpaşa, who now have back-to-back wins. This match ended 1-0 in favor of the visiting side, Kasımpaşa, who got their goal in the 67th minute through Haris Hayradinovic, Bosnian player, of course. And a very good game, I felt. Very up and down, very back and forth, I should say. Both teams looked dangerous. Hugo Rodallega had a couple of really good opportunities, but Fatih made some great saves. And on the other end, Kasımpaşa missed quite a few chances too. So again, Denizlispor involved in a very spectacular match in which this time around they come out on the bottom and Kasımpaşa come out on top. Kasımpaşa looked a little bit dreadful early on in the season, but they've picked up now with 6 points in their last 2 games. So they're looking a lot better now. I think 2 teams that will probably end in the belly of the league table. And, an entertaining match at least. Burak, did you manage to catch any of this?
Yeah, I caught a few bits and pieces of it. Just like you said, a little bit of a resurgence from Kasımpaşa, a little bit of confidence from the win last week. Although Denizlispor were unlucky, I think Hugo Rodallega just didn't have a good day at the office, and I think that's part of what stops him from going to be playing in bigger teams and for on the bigger stages. Like, he's just a little bit too inconsistent, a little bit like Papi Cisse, which we'll come to a little bit later. But so he'll probably pop up next week and score, knowing Hugo. But entertaining game for the neutral.
But also 2 guys in the twilight of their careers with Papi Cisse and Hugo Rodallega, but still performing quite well. I mean, he's getting into positions like you said. As you guys will be noticing, we're going through this a little quickly. Jakub was supposed to do Başakşehir, Özer was supposed to do this match, but they're both not here, of course, because of the rescheduling we had to do with Burak's birthday. Then Galatasaray's match in the Champions League on Tuesday. Spoiler alert, we're recording it after, but we'll be talking about that one next week. But the next match involved Alanyaspor and Sivasspor, and this one ended in 1-1. And the goals here coming from Fernando Andrade in the first minute and Papis Cisse, who Burak just mentioned, in the 61st minute to tie it up. And Burak is going to tell us a little bit more about this match.
So Alanyaspor league leaders, of course, going into this game, and Sivas coming off a run of not that, fantastic form that you see, but, they're still quite high in the table, so it was all set to be a decent game of football, and that was served up to us after 35 seconds when Sivas went ahead with Fernando, a nice ball in from Choyore, and a really good finish. After that, you had a few incidents before the 1-1. Alanya had a good shout for a penalty when a free kick came off the hand of a Sivasspor player in the wall. A little bit like the Ryan Babel instance we had earlier in the season. That wasn't given. I feel that could have maybe gone to VAR, and Alanya could have felt a little bit hard done by there. Ceyhun hit the post. Ceyhun had a good game, had a couple of good shots on target all game actually. So he was unlucky to hit the post in the second half. And you could see here Alanya were really starting to put on the pressure. Samasa making a save for Sivasspor from a number of Alanya players. But the man in the highlight, Cisse, pops up after a Efecan cross to make it 1-1, but that is ruled off for offside, which was the correct decision, as the Efecan shot rebounded off the keeper, and I think it was Cisse who put it in for Alanyaspor. I may be mistaken, but the Alanyaspor player was in an offside position as Efecan shot, so that was the correct call to have that disallowed. But shortly after, Alanya's pressure paid off. Efecan again, who was good all game actually. He got into good positions with some good crosses in. He got the cross in for Cisse, who probably one of the harder goals he scored this season. A great header, putting it beyond Samasa after the 61st minute, and deservedly so after Alanya had put on some really good pressure. But then you got Cisse again. We say he blows a little bit hot and cold. He misses a great chance just after from another Efecan cross, and that's when we have the Ceyhun shot that is also saved by Samasa. And again after that, Cisse misses yet another chance to make it 2-1. So like I say, this guy's had about 4 shots on target and he's put one away, but if he just had his shooting boots on, or he was a little bit more clinical, then Alanya would have deservedly walked away with the points for this one. But then right at the end, Sivas had a goal disallowed after Yatabare muscles past Wellington to slot the ball past the keeper of Alanyaspor. Now, having seen his back a few... Marafona, that's the one. I thought it was Maratona with a T, but it is an F. So, having watched this back, I think that it was a cop-out by the ref. I think that Yatabare just out-muscled Wellington. Yeah. It was a one-on-one. You expect, two players to be fighting for the ball, to go a little bit shoulder to shoulder, but there was no clear push, no clear arm hooking, no clear foul play that I would consider, or that the EFAB rules would consider, man of the law, to be an offence. So I think Sivas can feel very hard done by to not have that goal. But it would have been unfair on Alanya if they'd got nothing out of this game, because the fact they piled on so much pressure, missed so many clear chances. So,
and did the referee blow the whistle right after that as well? By the way, wasn't because I don't remember. I think it was this match in which that kind of happened. Because 2 weeks ago that happened at halftime with the Besiktas match. Remember when the ref just basically blew for halftime, which basically allowed VAR not to review the red card position for Douglas. And it kind of felt like it was the same here, where he just blew his whistle and the match was over. And rather than because I think the players even went to him and started pointing towards the sideline, towards VAR. Yeah, so it's just weird. Why are referees doing this? Why aren't they allowing for a couple of seconds at least to see if VAR spotted anything? That's something I think, and we also got the news that Aslan Boğa, who was the referee for that match 2 weeks ago, Başakşehir or Besiktas, well, last week I guess, got his license, his referee license retracted. So apparently, that's something that's being frowned upon. But I think that happened in this match as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was just very weird. I mean, you should, even if it's the last kick of the game, you should still go to VAR if there is a need for it. Yeah. And Sivas had a very good goal chalked off. But in the grand scheme of things, I'd probably say a draw is a fair result purely because of that Sivas goal having been ruled out. If that hadn't have happened, then I think Alanyaspor would have felt that they'd dropped 2 points at home. And again, Sivas going to Alanya. The weather's getting a little bit cooler now as we get towards like the autumn, but still, humid conditions in Alanya. It's not great to play football in. And I think it was a little bit earlier in the day as well, the kickoff. So I think Alanyaspor would probably feel that they should have won the game, but unfortunately Cisse wasn't as clinical as he could have been.
Anything to pick up on there, Umut? Any observations you had?
Well, about the Ceyhun's shot, I mean, the first time I've seen Ceyhun back in Trabzonspor, he had great shots and long shots. He was really quality on that. And back in the time he played for us, Galatasaray, he had that kind of talent on his pockets, but he didn't usually use that. I don't know why, but man is one of the best shooters in the league, but he doesn't use it very often unless it is necessary.
Yeah, but he doesn't get into the positions as often either. I think he's more like a breaker in midfield. So
but it's a possible threat because when he shoots, you see it's with massive power, and it's a real threat for the opposition keepers. And I think he's just using it effectively, but just rarely.
Okay, well, let's move over to the main event of probably this match day and especially of Saturday evening. That was Galatasaray against Fenerbahçe, the first real big derby of the season. Came early this season, match day 6. Usually that's the match day where Besiktas and Fenerbahçe meet up. For the past 3 or 4 years straight, we had Besiktas Fenerbahçe on match days 5 or 6, I think. So this time it's Galatasaray Fenerbahçe. Match ended 0-0. Not a huge surprise, I think. But let's get your thoughts on it, guys. Umut, let's start with you since Burak had the floor before.
Okay, first of all, I should say I traveled around like miles to get to the game from London to Istanbul, and with great expectations and great hopes for Galatasaray, but after watching the Galatasaray against Bruges, my expectations get lower and lower because we can't get into the positions and we can't meet Falcao with the ball inside the box at any chance. I don't know why, but with that 4-3-3 formation with Babel up front with Falcao, and our right wing always changes. It's either Emre Mor, either Feguli, or many other choices. But the Babel and Falcao connection doesn't work really well because he can't take the ball from either of the flanks, and this cost us too much by points or even in the Champions League. And Galatasaray started the game with a massive pressure on their shoulders, even though they are playing at their home grounds. But this is the thing about Galatasaray Fenerbahçe derbies. Fenerbahçe is always coming without a pressure or a pressure which is lower than Galatasaray's, of course, because they won a bunch of games in Galatasaray's home ground, but Galatasaray never won in these is 20 or 30 years. Burak, can you correct me? In
1999.
I've lost count, sorry.
Yeah, I do as well. But yeah, it's about the Galatasaray Fenerbahçe derby. It's all about the pressure, and the team who can handle it really well usually gets the point. And in this game, Fenerbahçe really started really well with Vedat Muric up front and a different formation. What Ersun Yanal started this season, he started with a 4-4-2 and Tolga and Ozan as his flanks, and with that philosophy he managed really well to close the Galatasaray down, and Galatasaray couldn't handle the ball in this first half, even though they had great talents up front like Lemina and Belhanda as well, but couldn't handle the ball, couldn't manage to hold the ball or take it forward. And
yeah, I think it was Lemina was the most threatening of all, wasn't it?
Yeah, Lemina could take 2 or 3 shots on goal, but they're all long shots, and I think it was in trouble for a Altay kind of goalkeeper. And the thing is, we hold the ball too much that our attacks became slower, and the opposition defenders are closing up at that time. I don't know why, but we can't find a gap to create another chance, and we just give the ball away at any cost.
Yeah, and we've noticed that over the past couple of weeks already that you guys seem to lack space on the wing, mainly. I think in the past you had Bruma, you had Gary Rodriguez, you had Onyekuru. You're really missing that right now. You don't have that pace anymore.
Yeah, Babel is the same kind of player, but he's old and don't have the pace anymore with him.
I think he's fast, but he was never really a speedster, like a Bruma, like a Rodriguez, like a Onyekuru, who are really, really fast. To put it in FIFA terms, Babel's probably like an 83, 84, which is good, But these guys are like 90 plus.
Yeah.
To put it in FIFA terms, because that's a big topic right now. Of course, FIFA 20 is out. Umut spent the entire week trying to find it. But yeah, so I think that's how you can probably view it. And with the system that Fatih Terim likes to play, I think you really do require someone like that. The only person in the squad that I can think of that has that type of speed is Emre Mor, but he's not starting.
And also having to mention that Fatih Terim left the team alone in their home grounds for the last time this season. I hope so. But it's a thing, in the derby, it's a big game, and you shouldn't really left the team alone on the field. So it was Levent Hoca again managing the team, and I don't know who gives the orders in that kind of thing. I know Levent Hoca doesn't have the dominance to do that.
They have instructions. They tell them, if it's still 0-0 in minute 60, put this guy on, take that guy off, whatever. Or they're probably in communication through a telephone or whatever. There's plenty of ways. It's always going to be Fatih Terim who's making the decisions. The only difference is there might be a delay on the decisions.
Yeah, I would say Fenerbahçe was the dominating team in the second half until Deniz Türüç came in, because I don't know why, but taking Ozan on the right back position and Deniz Türüç on up front on the right side wasn't a great idea, because it slowed Fenerbahçe, because I think Deniz Türüç isn't as dynamic as Ozan Tufan right now. He's a playmaker kind of player, not as dynamic box to box kind of player like Ozan. So Fenerbahçe lost their dynamism in the field, and game balanced out. But until the position where Kulisa had the header to the empty net, but the ball lost its pace, and Luyendama just saved it at the end. And game ended 0-0. Didn't offer us too much. What a pity.
Yeah, and Burak, let's get your thoughts on the match and mainly Fenerbahçe's performance in it.
It was just quite boring and uneventful, which is what these derbies are kind of turning into. If you can forget the 2-2 last year when there was a massive brawl on the pitch, then the last time there was an actual winner in one of these games was you'd have to go back to April of 2017 when Fenerbahçe won 1-0 against Galatasaray in the Türk Telekom Arena. But since then it's just been draws. It's 0-0, 0-0, 2-2, 1-1, 0-0, and it's just this procession seems to go on. In the last 5 times Fenerbahçe have played at Galatasaray Stadium, there's been 4 draws and 1 win for Fenerbahçe. So it appears that not only can Galatasaray not beat us in our own stadium, they can't beat us in their own stadium as well. So I'm sure the absence of Fatih Terim had an effect. That's probably why there wasn't a big fight, actually. That thug wasn't patrolling the touchline with Hasan Şaş, that little parasite. But from a Fenerbahçe point of view, I was optimistic going to the game, seeing Isla starting, Hasan Ali Kaldırım on the bench, thinking, okay, we're getting some defenders back into the team. But Isla didn't have a very good first half, and as Umut said, after moving Ozan to right back, I think purely because he's played that position now for 4 or 5 games, so he's getting quite used to it. So I think that's why Arsenal put Ozan there.
Yeah, he started his career at right back, and I think Şenol Güneş put him in midfield, because before that, in the Bursa Youth, as far as I know, he always played right back.
Yep, I was not aware of that. I've always only recognised him as a midfielder. So let's go see. He's got a history and knowledge of that position. So I think he's our emergency go-to right back. We're seeing as we had Dindjer at left, because Hasan Ali is injured. Otherwise, I think Dindjer would have played the right back in his absence. I think Zanka had a very good game. He's often maligned by our fans, but if you're looking at the stats of the game, then he came up against Falcao one-on-one 5 times, won them all. He came up against Babel 7 times, and he won 6 of those duels. I think I saw a stat somewhere on a stat page which said he had an 81% success rate on one-on-ones. He's a cool, calm head. He gets into the right position. He looks quite slight in his build, but he is a little bit strong. He's almost quite sinewy, a little bit like Gustavo. I think Gustavo, for me, has been playing well. He's been an anchor there. Sometimes it seems as though he's very slow and he's almost trotting around, but then he'll just burst into life. Like a period of play where he just rushed after Lamina and got the ball off him from behind. And I think Galatasaray were forced to defend a lot. You know, they really struggled to try and contain Vedat Muric, who was using his body and ability very well. I think both him and Falcao lacked service. Falcao more than Vedat. I think Vedat was just very well marked out of the game, whereas Falcao just didn't receive any service, full stop.
Vedat played an excellent game, actually. He made life miserable for Galatasaray's defenders, I felt like. But
especially like Marcao.
Yeah. I mean, Marcao, I think Marcao struggled, but still held his own. But you could see how much he was struggling with Vedat.
Yeah, but you know, for Marcao, Vedat is a double-sized player, so he's even taller than him and sometimes quicker than him, and Marcao couldn't find a way to deal with it.
Yeah, but if you look at, for example, okay, we're going to get a little bit into what happened this week, and we're saving that for next week, but I felt like Marcao struggled more against Vedat than he did, for example, against Icardi the other day. You know, so that's kudos to Vedat, I think. I think Vedat played a really good game. I think, Burak, you say, well, maybe Falcao was a little bit more service-starved, but I don't really know if I agree with that, because I think your left wing, you know, where Dira was playing left back today, on this day, instead of Hasan Ali, for example. And plus you had Gary Rodriguez fall out injured just before the match. I really felt like your left wing was basically paralyzed. Like, you had nothing coming over that left wing. Max Kruse didn't have his day, so you didn't really have any service from him. And then on the right, who was playing?
No pace. We had the Ozan started on the right wing in the first half, and you had Tolga Ciğerci on the left. So you have no pace or no width whatsoever in the first half. So you're trying to go through the centre, and Vedat's doing his best, but there's no one to.
Yeah, so he was fighting, and I think he was winning most of the aerials. He was fighting for every ball, but he wasn't really getting a proper ball, though. I mean, so I don't think I fully agree with the fact that he had better service than Falcao. I think he just made more of what he got because he's more physical. Obviously, Falcao's a relatively small guy compared to Vedat, and Vedat's very combative. That's just not what Falcao is gonna do. So I think Vedat was alongside, Nzonzi was great, Vedat was great, and then Ozan. I thought Ozan was really good too, in general. Quick question to you, both of you, because you did mention Gustavo there, and he had one scary position in the first half, I think it was, where it looked like he tackled Lemina, I want to say, and there was a VAR check, and they actually went to look, but then they ended up finding like a handball in the build-up from Ryan Babel, I believe. So there was they didn't even, it didn't matter because it was thrown out. But I want to ask both of your opinions on whether that was a penalty. Should there have not been a handball in the build-up? Burak, you first. Man of the law.
Man of the law. For me, never a penalty. Gustavo goes in, he plants his back foot way beyond the leg of, let's say it's Lemina, and then his back foot just slides along the grass. And what happens with the Lemina is he just, as he's running, natural position, leg comes back and he falls over. So was there a little bit of contact with maybe the front foot of Gustavo? Yep, there was maybe a little bit of contact, but that doesn't warrant a penalty. And I think Cüneyt Çakır played his get out of jail card there by saying, actually, in the lead up to this, there is a handball. Yeah. Because if it had come down to the fact that there was no handball and he had to make a choice, either set of fans would have crucified him. If Galatasaray had been awarded a penalty and scored, he would have been crucified. If he hadn't awarded the penalty, then Galatasaray fans would have been up in arms saying, why haven't you given the penalty, etc. So for me, no penalty. Cüneyt Çakır probably breathed a sigh of relief as he approached that VAR machine.
I think so too. It's a very difficult situation a referee is being put in a game like this, in front of the home crowd, and then you get called in to check, and then everyone's expecting, he's going to point to the spot, because, I mean, how can he not? A full stadium screaming at you, for the penalty. Umut, did you think it was a penalty?
Well, I was at the stand, so I didn't see the whole thing in a detailed manner, but, after I watched it in a second time at home, I didn't think it's a penalty, but as far as I know, VAR check is only for, by decision after it.
So the check was for the penalty, but then
check was for the penalty, but
then they found the handball in the
initially Cüneyt Çakır gave a corner there for Galatasaray, and then he checked VAR and changed it to a handball. But if there's a VAR check, I don't think it's possible to change the initial decision.
No, they go back, and then there's the fall and the free kick for the handball. That's correct. But something pointed out to me by one of my friends is actually that Lemina actually kicked the ground, and that's why he fell, rather than contact with Gustavo. I don't know if either of you noticed that, but I did notice that he did get a shot off. It went completely wayward. I don't think it got blocked. Did it get blocked? But it did look like he just mishit it. And I believe he I don't know, obviously I think both of you played some football in your life. I can tell you once I was a winger, and I was going in for a cross, and literally it kicked straight into the floor, straight into the grass, and I flew up like a ballerina or something. It was ridiculous just by kicking into the floor. So sometimes, when you kick...
By feeling the contact, you have the thing to go and fall. I think it's a primitive thing, you cannot get out of that thing.
Yeah. Anyway, I do agree with both of you. I don't think it was a penalty. I think it would have been really harsh. And let's be happy that we didn't get a controversial penalty deciding this match. Then there was another big decision. That was the offside goal from Radamel Falcao, but I don't think much can be said. That was a clear offside position, so that's pretty much...
He hit
Stonewall offside.
it well, man. Yeah, he hit it.
But it just goes to show that if Galatasaray can get service to Falcao, then all he needs is one chance and one shot, and he can win you a game.
Yeah.
But
definitely.
I was really disappointed by the atmosphere in the ground as well. It didn't seem very electric or fired up at all. So
near the goal.
So watching it from the television, the volume not up too much because I was ill of the weekend, horrendous headache. But I'm better now, don't worry. But what was because you were live in the stadium? How did being there compare to previous derbies that you've been to and previous matches? Did the atmosphere feel a little bit flat for you in the stadium? Because that's how it came across to the viewers.
Yeah, definitely. It was a letdown because usually when the expectations are high, they go to the stadium with a graded atmosphere and graded expectations. And after the Bruges game, it was a letdown for Galatasaray and all the fans. And
a little bit of a deflating effect.
Yeah.
But do you think there was more nervosity? I think I kind of felt like... I kind of jokingly said before the match when you were all in our group and we were all doing our predictions, I was like, it's going to be a nervous 0-0 draw. Both teams afraid to lose. And I kind of said it jokingly. It wasn't a serious prediction.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what it ended up being.
You jinxed the damn match.
Yeah,
it's all my fault, people. Sorry.
And also, having said about the fans, it was a great thing to see from the stands that away Fenerbahçe fans opened up a poster about their lost fan like 2 years ago, Burak. You know better.
It was last year at the 2-2 match.
Yeah. I remember that match. Some of the fans, majority of them, left the game before it's been finished, and went to the ceremony thing.
Yeah, it was right at the start of the first half.
All of the fans left, and the away fan stand went all empty. It was a great thing to see, great gesture from Fenerbahçe fans to showing their respect to the fans who's lost his life 2 years ago.
And then at the end there was that famous picture of a little girl Galatasaray fan posing with Mustafa Cengiz and Ali Koç taking a picture of them as well, which is nice to see. But no doubt the very next day they were both back to shit talking. So
one more thing, Umut, I know you've been advocating this, and actually it's sparked my interest a little bit. You say Galatasaray should be playing 4-4-2, and I can see a logic in that. Previously, Fatih Terim was very successful with a 4-4-2. With Johan Elmander, I believe, and who was the other striker? Baros at the time, I guess. No, not Baros.
Yeah, we had Baros Elmander, but at the time we had too many strikers. Nejati Kam.
And you had Umut with Burak.
That's the next year.
Umut, and then Burak with Drogba, that worked too. You played a lot of 4-4-2 under Fatih Terim. And then the thing, this is what I want to get to. With the physicality, we were praising Vedat just before, but Falcao never really was a physical striker. I mean, he's not a physical specimen. He's a guy that you need to lead through maybe. Do you think that he would benefit from playing alongside, for example, your second striker Andone, who is maybe a little bit more physical?
Yeah, definitely, because Andone is eager to play as well, and he's more like a
warrior.
He wants to win the ball up the field, so stamina kind of player, and he never gets tired, and you can expect more from him, and it will be a great choice to put him alongside Falcao.
Yeah. Do you think Fatih Terim will try it out?
I don't know. He's more kind of arrogant and insistent on his choices, and I don't know if he's gonna change it. We'll see. But he did change a formation in this Champions League game against Paris Saint-Germain. He went for a 3-5-2, which is a different thing.
Yeah.
Right now, we'll expect.
It was more like a 7-1 or 7-2-1 or something. It was very defensive.
And then right at the end, Mad Max.
Yeah.
It's a header as Muslera rushes out and kung fu kicks him, and there a little bit of contact. There's a very little bit of contact, and other players may have tried to make an absolute meal of that and go down and try and win a penalty, even though it was kind of right on the line of the penalty area. So it would have had to have gone to VAR. But kudos to Mad Max. He just got his head on it, and there was just no pace or power on it. And I think Lewandama just cleared it up with relative ease.
Yeah, but for me, Fenerbahçe did look like the more eager side the last 20 minutes. I know Umut said that it kind of went down when Ozan when Deniz came on for Ozan, but I mean, there was a free kick that was in a very good position, and then there was, of course, that opportunity for Max Kruse, and there were a couple of other moments, and I just didn't have the sense of Galatasaray in the final 20 minutes that they were really going for the win. I just felt like they had settled for a draw at that point, and Fenerbahçe looked like the more likely team that maybe wanted to try a little bit more, take a little bit more risk. And I was kind of surprised by that, because this was kind of a must-win match for Galatasaray. Obviously, it's early in the season, but they kind of missed their start. Fenerbahçe had a decent start, even though they're not that far apart in terms of points. But I was surprised by that.
We still only got one defender playing in its correct position, and that's Zanka, a centre-back, which just baffles me. I think that's just a sign of a poor transfer policy. But
or limitations through financial fair play,
Exactly. And just bad luck that those people got injured at that particular time. But Islas coming back, Hasan Ali is coming back, Rami is clearly not ready, as we saw against Ankaragücü last week. So I think
for the speed,
for the foreseeable future, it's looking like it's Jalson alongside Zanka, maybe with the odd cameo from Luis Gustavo to play as centre-back and even an emergency left-back if Hasan Ali re-injures himself. But, we'll look to see who's fit to play this weekend. But all things said, pretty uneventful derby, considering the last two we've had where we actually had some goals and some red cards and fights. It was pretty much all kisses and cuddles at the end of the match.
Yeah, maybe the absence of Fatih Terim did have an effect, but maybe not a poor one. Maybe not a bad one for sportsmanship. Anyway, if either of you have had your say, then let's move on to Sunday.
Can I say one last thing?
No.
Oh.
Go ahead.
At the time where Fenerbahçe had their free kick, which is close to goal, they had 3 set-piece specialists alongside the ball, and who are Emre Belözoğlu, Deniz Türüç, and Max Kruse. And Emre did take it because I think he's pretty dominant on their team choices and about the influence on the ball.
I think it all just depends who is best for,
I'm pretty much happy about, because I think if Deniz Türüç took it, he would hit the back of the net at the time. Because he's really on form with the set pieces right now.
I don't know, man. I mean, scoring against Moldavo is one thing. Scoring in a derby in Turk Telecom Arena against Galatasaray is another thing. Pressure is a really big factor in these sorts of things.
Also, comparing this with Galatasaray, when we are having a free kick in that same kind of area, we have nobody to take it.
Yeah, notice Siri was taking all the set pieces the other day against PSG.
Yeah,
I guess
but
Fatih
he's
Terim was fed up with Belhanda's corners and free kicks.
But as well, Belhanda or Seri are set piece specialists. We were in a need of it, and we don't have anybody to take these.
They're both guys that can take a corner, can take a free kick, kind of like Ozan at Besiktas. Like, they can do it, but they're not specialists.
Mediocres.
Yeah, indeed. Like, it's better than Zanka taking him, for example. Probably. I don't know. Maybe Zanka has a great technique on the ball, kicking technique, but you know what I mean. Like, it's better than your average guy doing it. But we have seen with Belhanda, for example, that he struggles to just get the ball over the first man. Even on free kicks, on corners, and everything. So Galatasaray definitely missing their set piece specialist. Selçuk Inan in the past, of course, for the last years was very good in that. Of course, we had Wesley Schneider who had great set pieces too. So it's just so important in the modern game.
Even Burak for Besiktas right now doing his best for free kicks, but right now we don't have anybody.
Yeah, it's just so, corners and free kicks. If you score easily from set pieces, that makes your life so much easier as a team, because especially in a league like Turkey, where there's so many stubborn teams that are going to make life difficult for you, that are going to have 10 people behind the ball or 9 people behind the ball, are going to make the spaces small, and you're either going to, like Galatasaray right now, going to have to rely on a pacey winger like Onyekuru, Gary, or Bruma, whatever, or on good set pieces. If Galatasaray would have good set pieces right now, then there wouldn't be a problem, because as soon as you get that first goal, spaces open up, you get more room to attack, and that's when, that's what Besiktas are struggling with too right now. You just have such a problem finding that goal. And Galatasaray, to a lesser extent, had that same issue. And I think that's what Fenerbahçe are not struggling with. They like Burak pointed out, yes, they have their defensive woes, but the best form of defense is offense. And I think, Ersun Yanal, of course, epitomizes that mentality, perhaps. It's a little bit ridiculous highlighted to a ridiculous extent right now with their defensive situation, but they have a lot of more weapons up front. Okay, Gary wasn't here, and we noticed his absence, even though I don't think we really rate him, but his pace makes a difference. But just having that one-man army up top, Vedat Muric, who I think right now is the best striker in the league, it just makes such a world of a difference. But yeah, let's move on, guys. We've gushed enough about Vedat. I have gushed enough about Vedat. I think people can guess who I would pick if I could pick one player from our rival teams to add to my squad. I don't know who you guys would pick, but I know who I'd pick.
I'll think about that one. I'll let you know at the end.
Not a Besiktas player, I'm pretty sure. Let's move over to Sunday then. Konyaspor against Kayserispor, the struggling Kayserispor, I should say. Konyaspor here winning this match 2-1. Goals here coming from Levin Shengalia scoring an own goal in the 9th minute, putting Kayserispor in front. But Dini Milosevic equalized at the stroke of half-time to make it 1-1. Then Marko Jeftovic converted a spot kick in the 90th minute to make it 2-1 for Konyaspor. Both Bernard Mensah and Pedro Henrique saw a red card following the penalty as well. Bernard Mensah with a little bit of a kicking motion, I think, got sent off, and then Pedro Henrique, in the tumultuous result of that red card, he got sent off too. And I think that's not the first time it happens to him. It's like a second or third red card already this season. He got one against Galatasaray for kind of complaining too. And I'm not sure, but I think he might have gotten one on match day 1 as well. I think it's his third red card already for Pedro Henrique. always very threatening for Kayserispor, but the guy is getting all the cards. Burak, you covered this match for us. Let's hear what you got to say.
I will say the main action points happened at the start of the halves. So as you know, after 9 minutes, a really bad own goal by Shingalia of Konya. But to be fair to the guy, he really tried to make it up after. He pressed forward up the pitch in the Kayserispor half. He tried to get some crosses in. He really tried to. You could see that he was trying to make up for his errors, which was good to see. And then it was a really well worked goal by Konya to equalise on the stroke of half time. I think it was in the first or second added minute of stoppage time. Just a nice little triangle play and a really nice tidy finish by Milosevic into the box. Faruk Mia was quite quiet. We've raved about him a little bit, the young powerful player. He had a really good shot, I think midway into the second half, that just went over the bar. That would have been like a hell of a goal to make it 2-1 if that had gone in. And then I think it was the 90th minute into the 8th minute of added time that the penalty was given to Konyaspor, and it was a VAR check that actually brought the decision in. And having looked at it, having studied the EFL rules, and being, of course, a man of the law, the hand was extended above shoulder height, making his body bigger, and I think that's something he had to give the penalty for. So it's but I think it was only after Skubic was literally screaming in the face of the referee. I'm not sure if he got booked for that or not.
No,
I would have booked.
Don't think he did.
Would have booked him. He was just like a hellacious, just like screaming. But it seemed to do the job as it went to VAR, and it was given. And then we had the madness at the end with Mensah just losing his cool, and probably due to the fact that he's seen his team gone down. He's lost his cool. He's lashed out. He's got, I think it was a second yellow to make it a red. Enrique starts yapping. He gets sent off, and then a member of the Kayserispor bench was sent off as well. So I'm not sure it was Johnson. I'm not sure Johnson goaded Mensah into getting that second yellow, but it was end of the game, and I think Mensah had gone in quite hard on Johnson. He was just given a little bit back, Mensah bit, and he got his just desserts exactly. And that's much, nothing that much happened in this game. I want to say the main talking points happened at the start of the start and at the end of the halves, with the goals, the free kicks, penalties, the sendings offs. One kind of Faruk Mir shot that flew over, and there's a nice clip online about Aykut waiting for the Konyaspor players and hugging them all and kissing their kids as they come out, which is, I don't know, just a nice heartwarming moment in the current shitstorm that is Turkish football. But yeah, that's pretty much sums up the game. It was all action at the start and end of the halves, and not much filler in between.
Yeah, not a very active Serkan Kerintele this week. Didn't have to make that many saves. Yeah, Kayseri struggling. I don't know. I have not. It's kind of like the same. Even more so than with Gençlerbirligi. I just feel like Kayserispor do have a decent side and do play decent football, and right now just seem to, I don't know, just get shortchanged. Maybe. I think a point here would have been fair, and they've had matches like that before this season already, where they probably got a little bit less than they should have, and right now they're dangling down at the bottom of the table, just I think 1 point above of Gençlerbirligi, if I'm not mistaken, at 3. So
that's right, winless in the last 6, along with Gençler.
Yeah, Umut, anything to add, or shall we move on to the next one?
We should move on.
Okay, the next one is Antalyaspor Malatyaspor. This match ended 3-0 to Antalyaspor. Goals here coming from Atif Şeşu in the 38th minute and Ufuk Akyol in the 61st minute, before we saw a red card to Mustafa Akbaş I think that was already an added time, really, after the VAR check and everything. I think the initial yellow card was in the 85th minute, but that got overturned and got changed into a red card. And then from the resulting free kick, Hakan Özmert scored a beauty, an absolute beauty. You know, I think last season, Hakan Özmert, I've known him for so long as a footballer, and I've always seen him as kind of a boring central defensive midfielder, like years, literally years. The guy must be close to 30 years old, and for years just saw him as an average, you know, boring central defensive midfielder. And then suddenly last season he started scoring all these stunning goals for Antalyaspor and free kicks. This isn't the first free kick he scored, and I just can't remember him ever doing that before. And I'm probably just, you know, I probably just overlooked it in the past. But wow, what a free kick. Anyway, Umut, you covered this game for us. Let us hear what you've got to say.
Well, before the Atıf Şeşir's goal, Sergen Yalçın's Malatyaspor really balanced that game and even missed some open chances with Morike Fofana up front, missing from 6-yard box. I don't know how he missed that, but after Atıf Şeşir's goal, Malatyaspor panicked a little bit and pushed up, searching for a goal, but their defensive work went real bad and almost non-existent at all. And after that, Antalyaspor found countless chances in front of the goal, and youngster Ufuk scored from a defensive error, a long shot, but not very far. He even lost his balance before shooting, but there were no Malatya defenders covering him, and he scored really easily in front of the Malatyaspor defense. And in the last minute, a red card was given, as you said before, to Mustafa Akbaş. Initially was a yellow card, and even Mustafa Akbaş was objecting to the ref, but after the VAR check, it's been, I think it's been committed as a last man defender thing, you know.
Oh, okay. I was kind of curious what the red was for.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, he was protesting. He was not protesting, but he was like kind of surprised that he even got a yellow. But
yeah, it was. I think it was committed as a last man foul and given a direct red card to him. And from that certain free kick, Hakan Özmert bent it really well to the back of the net. Even it's you know, it was a fine spot for a left footer, but he's a right-footed player and put it directly to the far post.
It reminded me of, do you remember Burak Sergen's goal against Fenerbahçe in Kadıköy in 2004 when Recep was in goal?
Ugh.
It reminded me of that one, but then a lot harder.
Yeah.
Like a lot of power on this one. Like Sergen just kind of brushed it in, but this was like,
yeah, it was great.
What a strike.
Even a tall keeper like Farnol cannot do anything about it, but he even took a step to the other side before just he take it, because he predicted about he's going for the over the wall, but he didn't, and the game ended 3-0 for Antalya.
Do you think that was a fair reflection of the match, or do you feel like Malatya maybe, I mean, like you said, Malatya early on looked good, probably should have gotten on the score sheet. I did see some people on Twitter going, kind of talking a little bit of smack about Sergen and, and the team not being able to defend. But if you look at the I mean, I've said this during the European qualifiers, during the Europa League qualifiers, their back line is very poor in terms of quality. I really like...
he you know, Robin Yalçın used to play a central defensive midfielder for Çaykur Rize. Yeah, but he uses it as a central defense, you know.
Yeah, it's probably for build-up.
Yeah, build-up, you know, you get punished for that, because what Abdullah Avcı did back in Başakşehir, like putting Mahmut Tekdemir there, you know. He doesn't have the physical battle, physical thing to battle for the ball, and
yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Robin
I just-
Yalchin, we're talking about, not Mahmoud here, of course. But I generally don't really like their back line. Chabek is a player I really don't like.
Yeah,
in
he's
terms of-
their captain. I don't know why.
Yeah, I really don't rate him. And then Erkan Kaş, of course, Besiktas youngster. I like him, but he's not very good.
He's similar. He's really similar to Caner wise because he's good at attacking phase, but
Poor man's
defensively,
Caner.
yeah, his defensive manners are not full, man. And
Yeah. And then there's Mina. Mina I really like. I really rate. I think he's one of the best central defenders in the league, but he's literally the only good defender in that back line.
Yeah.
So I'm actually surprised that Malatyaspor have done as well as they have so far this season. I really expected them to struggle a lot more simply because of their really vulnerable back line.
And you know, Sergen is he likes attacking play and all. And after conceding the goal, he just wanted to influence the game and balance the game out. But it's just gone vice versa. And Antalyaspor found countless of chances in front of the goal, and eventually they found the goal with that youngster Ufuk. Scored a really good goal, and it ended 3-0.
No. Burak, anything to add, or shall we move on?
No, I think you guys have covered it all.
Okay, well, people, because we're late this week, as you know, I did pre-record a couple of segments, one of which is the next one, Ankaragücü against Gençlerbirligi. I pre-recorded that. I spoke to Nadim about this match, and, have a listen. And moving on, we have the first Ankara derby since 2012 between Ankaragücü and Gençlerbirligi. Last time these two teams met in an official capacity was in January 2012. Gençlerbirligi won that match, but on this day it wouldn't be so, as Ankaragücü ended up winning 2-1 against their rivals Gençlerbirligi. The scoring went as follows: Daniel Kamdeya scoring an own goal in the 56th minute, that was basically forced by Michael Pazdan. And then in the 68th minute, Ilhan Parlak doubled Ankaragücü's advantage. And then finally in the 75th minute, Korcan Çelikay, the goalkeeper, scored an own goal following a long shot from Zargo Toure that took a deflection on Kulisic and then took a deflection on the back of Korcan Çelikay. Kind of everything that could go wrong went wrong there, and pay attention because that's going to be a team later on in the podcast with another team. But joining me right now is Nadim Raja of the Round Ball in Ankara. He's of course an Ankaragücü fan. He previews all of Ankaragücü's matches, reviews the matches, and just a huge Ankaragücü fan. Great person to follow on Twitter if you are interested in Ankaragücü. Nadim, thank you very much for joining us on the show once again.
Thanks very much for having me on, Kaan. It's nice to be on. How's life in Belgium?
Oh, in Belgium it's all good. In Istanbul it's a little less good, I would imagine, with my fellow Besiktas fans. But yeah, we're having you on because this is a special occasion. The first Ankara derby between Ankaragücü and Gençlerbirligi since 2012. Obviously there's been other Ankara derbies with Osmanlıspor involved, but that's not really the real thing. It's kind of like a cheap Chinese knockoff of the actual derby, Ankaragücü Gençlerbirligi. And of course, I'm sure you're over the moon with the result. But what did you think of Ankaragücü's performance? Did you think Gençlerbirligi deserved to lose on the day? Who were the better team overall, and what was your general thoughts on the match?
I think to actually go over the match, we need to also look at the lead up to the match as well to kind of put things into perspective. Obviously, everybody knows that Ankaragücü have got a transfer ban, but as the weeks go by, it's getting more difficult. During the week, we lost Tito Canteros. He was injured in training, and he's arguably our best player. He's actually in the top 7 players in the midfielders in the Super League in key passes. So losing him was a big blow. And then Moke, he got injured in training, so it was unclear whether he was going to start the match. And Chebrail broke his foot last week as well. So the kind of we're really struggling to even fill the bench at the moment. So there was an opportunity for Hassan Kaya to come in, and he's come through a youth academy, and strangely enough, it was his first start in 4 years for Ankaragücü. he's 23 years old, so he's not really considered a young player anymore. But it was an opportunity for him. I think that if we look at the first half, Gençlerbirligi dominated, and Ankaragücü were lucky to go in at half-time level. Gençler had 3 or 4 chances in the first half. First of all, Sezgin had a shot which was brilliantly blocked by Kitsu. He blocked the shot and it went over the crossbar. Michael Pazdan cleared an opportunity off the line from Giovanni Sio. And then they had another couple of chances where Korçan made a couple of good saves as well. But midway through the first half, again, things starting to kind of go wrong again for us when our manager, Metin Biadin, was sent off. He was unhappy with a challenge on Thiago Pinto, and he must have said something to the referee. I don't know what he said, but the referee sent him off. And then from there on, kind of getting in at half time, you're thinking if we can come away with even a point from this game, we'll be happy. But then we come out in the second half and the game really changed. There was a kind of 15-20 minute spell where Ankaragücü started to dominate the game. And it was great to see Hasan Kaya come up with an assist for the first goal. It was his corner that was put into the box, and Ricardo Fatih headed the ball on. Ilhan and Pazdan both tried to get the ball over the line, but their goalkeeper made a good save, and then Daniel Candeias tried to clear the ball and ended up putting it into the back of his net, which is quite good for me to see because he's an ex-Rangers player, so an ex-Rangers player helping Ankaragücü, I'll take that any day. And then shortly after, we made it 2-0, and again Hasan Kaya was involved again when he played a brilliant through pass for Kitsu. He played the ball across for Dever Orgil, and his shot was saved by the goalkeeper, and Ilhan was in hand to put the ball into the back of the net. There was a quick check with VAR to see if it was offside, but they checked and the referee gave the goal, so 2-0 up. But even at that stage, you're still thinking Gençlerbirligi played well in the first half. They've still got some good players in the team. I probably still would have settled for a draw at that point as well. And then when Zargo Toure, he had a shot from just out the box, which was deflected off Kulisic, hit the post, come back off Korçan, and then ended up in the back of the net. And at that point, you're thinking, "Oh, here we go." Orgil and Mehmet Sak both had opportunities for Ankaragücü in the kind of dying stages of the game to make it 3-1. But again, the Gençlerbirligi goalkeeper, I think it's Ertaç, his name, made a couple of good saves. And in the end, we managed to hang on for the 3 points. So overall, I'm absolutely delighted with the result. Also delighted with the second half performance. And I think the fact that Ankaragücü have even got like more than a point at this stage, never mind 8 points, is a miracle because we have such a poor side, and that's no disrespect to any of the players. Apart from the defence, I think we've got a really good back four, and Korçan's a pretty decent goalkeeper. And then you've got Canteros in midfield and Orgil up front. That's basically it. The rest is filled with guys like Sedat and Ilhan, who shouldn't really be playing in the Super League. Sedat's 38. And then you've got guys like Hasan Kaya. It's great to see him getting an opportunity, but at 23 he's been playing in the lower leagues of Turkey for the last 3 or 4 years. So yeah, delighted with the result. I'll come on to another thing in a wee second once you come back in, but I think there was a wee bit of a missed opportunity with Ankara derby, but I'll speak to you about that in a few seconds after kind of hearing your opinion on the game.
Yeah, I think you summed it up pretty nicely. Gençlerbirligi definitely looked to dominate the first half, and they had opportunities to score, but I think I've said it a couple of times over the past couple of weeks, they don't look like a poor side at all. I think it's a little weird to see them at just 2 points at the bottom of the table right now. Same thing can be said about Kayserispor, I'd say, who only have 3 points out of 6 games. And both of these teams are bottom of the table at the moment, but they haven't looked that bad overall. But Gençlerbirligi, couldn't get the job done in the first half, then concede on the first real sign of threat, I think from a corner in the second half. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of Besiktas in the way that it's all good up until that first goal goes in, and as soon as that happens, it's kind of sink or swim, and usually it's sink, and it's kind of the same position Gençlerbirligi seem to be in right now, despite the fact, which like you have pointed out, you don't have the worst players. And then you have Ankaragücü on the other end of the spectrum with a very limited team, not a lot of squad depth, but they're making the most of it right now. They're gathering good points, and frankly, they haven't looked so bad this season at all. I think they had spells last season where they looked a lot more dead in the water, whereas now, yes, maybe they don't have the quality, but they definitely have the team spirit, and they're going for it, and they're not just laying down and taking it. And I think as they continue to perform like this, and if they manage to lift the transfer ban in January, I think they should be able to stay up, but it's very difficult to predict right now how it's going to go. If you look at the bottom of the table, frankly, maybe I'm a little partial, but I think Besiktas have played by far the worst overall in the season that, from all the teams that I've watched that are dangling down below there at the moment. So I think Ankaragücü get a really good win here. This was maybe one of their worst first halves of the season, but they get through it and they weathered the storm and they got the 3 points, which is the most important thing. So what's that point you wanted to make about the build-up?
So this was the first ever time that the Ankara derby was broadcast outside Turkey. So there was 70 countries that showed the game, including France, Croatia, and then the rest of the countries were in Africa. And obviously, if this was maybe like 2 seasons ago, I think it would have been a great opportunity with seeing Ankaragücü with a full stadium, even like minimum 15,000. But because of the issues that are going on off the field at the moment, there's a large protest against Mehmet Yine. So a big kind of proportion of the fans are basically boycotting.
Which is the Ankaragücü president, to be clear for our listeners.
So I think when people are from other countries that have never seen this game, that are tuning in and that they're seeing large sections of the stadium that are empty, although the atmosphere was still pretty good, we had there was a group of fans from Thailand who were at the game, and they've put up some posts on Twitter, basically saying how good the atmosphere and things like that were. But there only was about 5,000-6,000 people at the game, and that's made up of mainly Gecekonda. The rest of the support have boycotted because they don't trust Yine, and it's Ankaragücü fans will go and watch the club even if they're bottom of the league. They don't really care about trophies. Well, they do care about trophies, but they don't go and follow the club just to see them winning trophies, because we've never won trophies in our history. But it's the corruption and the lies, and Mehmet Yine have been unable to actually tell the fans where the money's going. There's no communication, and they're angry at that, and they're saying, well, we're not spending our money going to watch the games until you've left, because they tell so many lies. And it's just disappointing that the first ever game that's broadcast outside the Ankara, we didn't have like even 3/4 of the stadium full, because I think that would have been great for people to see, and instead that's the product that we've got. But as we all know, that people that watch Turkish football in general, there is so many missed opportunities with things like this, with too many empty stadiums for different reasons, and it's something that they're going to need to look at the top of the game, because there's a great product there. But again, touching on what you said earlier on, if you look at the Turkish table now, it's great that there's competitiveness there, but at the same time, there's a real lack of quality this season. There's not a single team there that you would look at and say, that's a really good team, they really stand out and they'll do well in Europe. They seem to be regressed, and I know that a lot of that's because of the economy and finances, that type of thing. I think this is the season where Trabzonspor would have had a really good chance of winning the league had they not had so many kind of injuries at this stage as well. But
Yeah,
looking at the
definitely.
top, there's so many teams at that top 10 of the table that you think anybody could win it this season.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at Galatasaray's squad, they look stacked, but then the football they're playing isn't all that just yet. It can still change, of course. Fenerbahce, I think, are playing decent football, but they aren't. I think right now they're looking like probably the most likely title contenders alongside Trabzonspor. But then Trabzon have those injury issues, like you pointed out, which, you know, that's gonna cost them points at some point, of course. Anyway, Nadim, I want to thank you very much for coming on and shedding your light on the Ankara derby. People, please head over to www.ankarafootball.blogspot.com and go and check out the round ball in Ankara. And we'll be moving on now with our next match. And that next match is Trabzonspor Besiktas. This one ended in an emphatic 4-1 win to the hosts. Trabzonspor trashing Besiktas at home, and with that, Besiktas are now among the bottom 3 in the league. They're in good company with Kayserispor and Gençlerbirligi down there. Besiktas still on 5 points after 6 games. Trabzonspor, despite the injury woes, continue to have a good result. They rebound here from an unfortunate defeat last week at the hands of Sivasspor, but what a way to rebound this is with a big win over Besiktas. The scoring here went as follows. In the 31st minute, Dorukhan Tokus scored an own goal to put Trabzonspor 1-0 up. In the 42nd minute, Jose Sosa doubled the scoreline following a pretty big deflection from Necip Uysal on a long shot from Sosa. Then in the 65th minute, Alexander Sorlot made it 3-0, adding insult to injury. In the 79th minute, Besiktas got on the score sheet through the substitute Güven Yalçın, making it 3-1. But then in the 88th minute, Anthony Wakaeme put the cherry on top of the cake for Trabzonspor, making it 4-1 to Trabzonspor. A really big win. But does it tell the entire story of the match? We'll delve into that right now. Jakub, first I'm gonna let you have your say. What was your general feeling about the match? I know you rushed home, you didn't manage to catch it all, I think. But from what you saw, what did you think of Trabzonspor's performance? What did you think of Besiktas' performance? And what did you think about the overall result? Was it an accurate reflection of the match? Or was it an exaggerated scoreline? Could it have been even worse? Your thoughts, please.
I didn't catch the whole game. I missed the first 15 minutes. I was at work, so I was like running to catch the match. I watched the game with a friend of mine that is Beşiktaşlı, so it was a fun game to see him squirm.
You bastard.
I quickly looked at the highlights again, and I apparently missed a shot of Wakaime that hit the post. But I talked with you, Sep and stuff, and you don't really agree with me. I know that Trabzonspor. I do think that Trabzonspor played a really good game. I have to give props to the team. They rebounded really good, as you said, from this result in the Europa League. I like that the team really had some chemistry again. It seems like everyone seems to have their performance up a notch a little bit. I really, I'm a big fan of Sosa. He's my favorite player in the team. And yesterday he once again showed that, he is the person that is supposed to lead this team. With the absence of Yusuf Yazıcı, he's pretty much the only guy that is, trying to go to the attack. And even though the both goals were, deflections, first with Dorukhan heading the ball over, and the second with Necip getting hit. He was pretty dangerous the whole game. He was always trying to attack. He's an old guy, but he has really good stamina. He keeps running the whole game, and he was really dangerous. But otherwise, I think pretty much the whole team played good. I didn't really have one player that I thought of that had a bad game. Before the game, I looked at the lineups and I saw that Karaman was going to play Kamil Ahmet Çelikçi as a right half, and I didn't know if that would work because Kamil had been injured for a long time, and even though I like him, he has some really spotty performance even when he's healthy. But he was really dangerous on the right wing. He's pretty pacey as a player, and he made it quite hard for the Beşiktaş defense to catch up to him. and he was always looking for the attacking run.
I think it was mainly a smart move to put him there to lock down Nkudu. I think that was the main idea. First neutralize him and then go forward and join the attack. And following the 2-0, you've got so much space. Because before that, I really didn't see Kamil in the first 40 minutes or so of the game, honestly. I think
I think it was, just as you said, to cut the pace that Nkudu is really fast, and normally we would have, pacey players like Christopher Abdul Kadir, switch on the wings, to take him up. But it was a good move. I was a little bit in doubt before the game started that it wouldn't really work. But my Beşiktaşlı friend said that he pretty much played the game of his life. It was pretty good. But I really liked Sørloth. We had some little back and forth with you about him and Wadega being pretty much the same player. But he yesterday again showed that for a guy that's like 191, he's really fast. He's really nimble. It's unbelievable that a guy that with his height, can do these runs. You have the fourth goal by Wakayeme. He runs the whole pitch and he doesn't really slack off behind Wakayeme after having played like 85 minutes of game, And we know that Karaman likes to keep his players fit, and it's really good to see that that even after playing like 80 plus minutes, the players are really fresh, even after having played a game, in the midweek against in the Europa League. So it was all in all, it was a pretty good match for me. I do think that the score doesn't really indicate how the game went. The first two goals, as I said, deflections. It could have went either way. But in my opinion, I also didn't really like Beşiktaş, to be honest. The midfield is really in shambles. I thought that with the absence of Ljajic that you would have played better. But if you have to play Hutchinson, which is one of my favorite players, the guy is really old. He has to, if he has to keep up with the pace, it's really a good sign. All in all, a really good game for me. I would have hoped that Sturridge came on earlier, and that he also made his mark. At least scored his first goal. He was really close with the free kick in the last minute. That's pretty much it. I know that there were some positions, like in the first half, there was a free kick from Burak that deflected off the wall, and it looked like it hit the arm of Sørloth. But I'm not the man of the law. I don't really know the rules. To me, it looked like he,
I thought that would have been a very soft penalty. Personally.
Yeah, to me it looked like he just, he twisted his body and the ball hit his upper arm. You can't really chop
They
off
checked
your
it
arm.
with VAR, and I think that was one of the crucial moments of the match, in the sense that, let's say Beşiktaş get a penalty there, because up until that point, up until actually the goal for Trabzonspor in the 31st minute, it was a very well balanced match. There was one really dangerous attack for Trabzonspor early on, where I think Anthony Nakayeme just couldn't get to the ball to head it, and then there was one really good cross from Caner that was just missed by Oğuzhan at the near post. I think if he makes contact with that, it's a goal. And really, it's kind of been the story of Beşiktaş's season, in that sense of it all went okay up until they concede that first goal, and that first goal always seems to come, or well, not always, but seems to come relatively frequently around that 30-minute mark. That's when they seem to, I don't know what it is, a lapse of concentration or something. I do think that the first goal for Trabzonspor, you could say the second one, that's a significant amount of luck is involved there. But on the first goal, I think, when you force a player to score an own goal, it's usually because you put a significant amount of pressure on that player to make an interception or whatever, or to come in between to make a decision. And that's basically what that was. Dorukhan was forced to head the ball, trying to clear it, and it wasn't a good header. He cleared it beyond his own goalkeeper into his own goal. So I don't think you can credit that to luck, but it is telling for Beşiktaş's season, really. And I do really think, Beşiktaş fans they're lashing out at the board, they're lashing out at the players, at the coach. They're all trying to find someone to blame, which is what's a normal human reaction. You're trying to look for the source of the problem so that you can fix it. Because if you can find the problem, if you can identify the problem, you can fix it. But I think that the difficult and the hard truth that Besiktas fans maybe need to acknowledge and realize is there isn't one singular thing to point out at that is the problem, that is the problem. And I know it's gonna come across a little bit lame, but sometimes luck is all you need, or a lack of luck is what makes the difference. I think here, again, these first 2 goals, that's a typical example of Murphy's Law. Everything that can go wrong will go wrong, and it's kind of been so the case throughout Besiktas' season so far, in every single game except for the match against Göztepe, which is the only match, mind you, where Besiktas got on the score sheet first. And that they ended up winning that match 3-0. But in every other single game this season, they conceded the first goal. They've played 7 official matches this season. In 6 of those, they conceded the first goal. That's a big issue. And a lot of those goals that they're conceding are coming from individual errors, or coming from dumb luck almost. But I think the main issue Besiktas have had is they have a new coach. They have a lot of new players. They had a lot of injuries at the start of the season. Burak is only just back for his 2nd game now. He's a crucial player. They missed Laic here. Okay, Laic hasn't been good this season, but I mean, still statistically, he hasn't been good. Still 2 goals, 4 assists. Has to be noted too. And for a player like that to regain his form, he needs to play. So him missing this match, that's another thing. They've missed a lot of players due to injuries, like Trabzonspor have, of course. Lots of new components in the team with new players, new coach, all that. And then you completely and utterly miss the start to your season, which will cause the fact that your confidence is going to sink into your shoes. And I think you're seeing a carbon copy of what happened to Fenerbahçe last season. Because people, throughout the season, people were, Slimani is a bad player, and this guy is a bad player, and that guy is a bad player. Well, look at what Slimani is doing right now at Monaco. Look what he can do as a player when he's confident. Fenerbahçe didn't have a bad team last season. I'm not saying they had a great team, and I'm not saying they could have won the title, but they had a team that should have always ended in the top 5 last season. There's no excuse for that. Same thing is the case right now with Besiktas. They may not be the best team in the league in terms of quality, but they are top 5. With this team, they have to end top 5, otherwise it's a failure. But just like Fenerbahçe last season, they completely missed their start. They have a new coach that doesn't know how... he can't really... There isn't a magical injection of confidence that you can give players. And confidence is, at the end of the day, in my opinion, the most important factor in sports, and especially in team sports and in football. You can be outclassed by several levels and still get a result against a better team just because you're confident in your own ability and you know what to expect from your teammates. It's all up in the head. Obviously, at the end of the day, confidence alone isn't going to win you the Champions League. It's not going to win you the league. It's not going to win you all that. You still need quality too, of course. But confidence is one of the absolute most important things in football. And Besiktas have none right now. I think that's the biggest difference with any other team at the moment. Besiktas aren't going to get a good result against Fenerbahçe, against Galatasaray, against Trabzonspor. Teams who, especially Fenerbahçe and Trabzonspor right now, who are confident in their own ability. And I think even Galatasaray, despite the fact that they aren't getting the results right now, they have a lot of quality players with a lot of experience, and they all have confidence in their own ability. And they know at the end of the day, we'll get the job done. I think that's one of the main things lacking with Besiktas right now. They don't really have those types of players. They brought in a lot of new, younger players, mid-20s, whatever. But none of them are really they don't really have that experience at the moment. That player is going to step up and drag them across the finish line. The only players that they do have that could do that are Laic and Burak. Burak only just got back from a really long injury, basically. He was basically out the entire preseason and then the beginning of the season, so he's been out for 2 months, so he needs a little bit of time to get back into it. Then Adem Laic missed the entire preseason. He's played all the games in the league except for this one, but he clearly isn't up to it yet. So you need one or two players that are going to take this team on their back and drag them across the finish line for a couple of matches against maybe easier opponents, get the team some confidence. It doesn't matter if you fire Abdullah Avcı right now. If the next coach is going to run into the same issue, this team has a crucial lack of confidence. Look at Fenerbahçe last year when Ersun Yanal got brought in. That didn't change things straight away. It still took quite a while before they managed to somewhat turn things around. And I think it's the exact same thing for Besiktas here. And I know this isn't really about this match, but it is about this match because that's exactly what happened here again. I think what we're gonna see for the foreseeable future with Besiktas, as long as it's 0-0, there's gonna be a chance. But they're kind of struggling with creating goals. They're definitely struggling with converting the few chances that they are creating. And then as soon as they concede, you know the max they're going to be able to get from that match is a draw right now. Because they don't have the confidence to go up and over an opponent at the moment. We saw that against Rizespor, which was, I think, even their best performance overall. But that's just, Besiktas are just lacking so much right now. And at the moment, I don't think they'll end bottom 3 at the end of the season. But you never know, because when confidence spirals out of control, the entire team does. Everything, it's like a card house. It all plummets. So you can have a really decent team in terms of individual quality and still do really poorly. That was my rant, but I think that's the biggest issue right now. What I can say for Besiktas, I don't see a singular issue. People are blaming Abdullah Avcı, but
even though it's really fun for me, to shit on Besiktas, because one of my best friends is for Besiktas. I don't think it's like a one solution thing. Abdullah Avcı has shown that he's a good coach, but I think that taking over a team from Şenol Güneş, one of the best coaches in Turkish history, and a team that has really passionate fans and that always fights for the top, for the top 3 for the championship. I think it's really a lot of pressure on him. I don't really think that the players you got are really Besiktas worried, to be honest. Diaby played a really good game. The couple of minutes he got, like the second half, he was pretty good. Tyler Boyd, I just he's not Besiktas quality worthy. It's easy to shine in a team as Ankaragücü where you're not the best team, you're not the worst team, but it's easy to shine if you have the quality. A middenmotor as we say in Dutch. But you can't do it if a player like Burak, who is a really clinical player. He had a bad game yesterday. I think that he shouldn't be allowed to take any free kicks at all. He's kind of like Cristiano, where he scores one in like 40 attempts, and it's a great one, but everyone knows that he probably won't score again.
Yeah, but who was going to take it yesterday? Laic wasn't there, so...
That's my second problem. You don't have anyone else. Ozan is not the best. Yais isn't
Caner,
there.
I guess, could have taken it.
Yeah, maybe Caner with a, but... I think the problem with Besiktas is multiple. It's not one thing that you can fire Abdullah, but that won't fix anything, because who are you going to get in his place? But
yeah, exactly. Anyone taking the job right now you need to. If you're gonna bring in anyone at the moment, you have to almost bring in like a Yilmaz Vural type or something. Because let's say, Besiktas fans would want Sezgin, for example. He's been proving himself in recent years at Malatyaspor now, and he's proved himself at Alanya. He's proved himself at Antep, Kayseri, I believe. Whatever. But if you bring him in right now, you're just basically throwing him in front of the Lions. Okay, he can't do much worse, but you could look at it that way. But at the other hand, I think you're just giving him a very ungrateful job. Plus, I really don't think Abdullah Avcı is to blame here. Özer asked me the other day, like, where's he failing? But he's been dealt such a bad hand. And yeah, you can say that maybe the players we got weren't necessarily Besiktas quality players, but I don't agree with that. I think a Tyler Boyd is easily on a similar level to what Olcay was when we first got him. The thing is that if you're slotting in all these new guys and you're expecting them to carry you straight away, but the rest of the team isn't working, and it's so it's so easy for fans to say, well, this guy's shit, that guy's shit, that guy's shit. But you're throwing these new players in an unfamiliar environment, in a team that's not working whatsoever, and you're expecting them to turn things around. That's just a wrong mindset. It doesn't work like that. That doesn't work like that when you get a Nkunku who has barely played in 4 years. You get a Diaby who's being played out of position because he's a striker. You're getting a Tyler Boyd this is his first whiff at a top team. And then you're expecting those guys to make the difference. It's the wrong thing. Beşiktaş should have guys like Laic, like Burak, like Ozhan. They should be standing up and lifting the team up to a newer level. You can expect a guy like El Neni, for example, because he's played at a top team in Switzerland with Basel, because he's played in a top team at Arsenal. You can expect a guy like that to come into the team and add something. But, well, we all know what happened there. He got sent off in his first match. He wasn't available. And obviously, that midfield is a real issue, as you pointed out. And I think El Neni playing there could potentially slowly start helping towards a more stable Beşiktaş. But, I mean, I can't say I've liked Dorukhan this season. I think he played good. The first couple of months last season, he played good in those first couple of months, and he scored some goals and he impressed people, and then he started getting hyped and blown out of proportion. But he's not a special player. He works hard and all that, but he's not. A team like Beşiktaş should be dominating midfield, should be controlling the match. Dorukhan doesn't work in function of that. Atiba, like you say, great player, but he's almost Atiba is 36 years old. I wanted to say 38, but he's 36 years old. He's getting at the tail end of his career, and he was one of the best players on the pitch yesterday for Beşiktaş. But
yeah.
But I mean, with Atiba, you know what you're gonna get. Lots of ball recuperations and lateral passes, but that's not what Beşiktaş need right now. Beşiktaş need to get in the final third of their opponents, and they need to do so quickly. And the only way to do that is with forward passes, quick forward passes, not taking too long, not being too tedious about it, and making quick combinations. And like you said, Burak wasn't really good yesterday, but what can you really expect from him? He's basically being thrown out there. You're like, okay, you're fit again. We need you. Get out there. And he doesn't have any time to pick up any sort of a form or anything like that. So we're gonna have to wait a couple of weeks before we see the best of him. But Beşiktaş don't have a couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's the problem. There was one big chance he had, like that he got the ball in this, in the box, and it was like 1-on-1 with the keeper, but he put it down with his chest, but he couldn't hit the ball at all. That as a player, as a person that has watched Burak back in the day before he came, the player that he is today, back in 2010, those seasons. He's really clinical, I know that it's a fun thing to talk about how many times he's an offside, but if you give him like a 1-on-1 chance with the keeper, it's like it's pretty much a goal always, So
50-50.
Yeah, you can't really blame. As I said, you can't really blame a certain thing. I do have to give we have to give a little bit of props to the team, to Trabzonspor. They finally. After the game in the Europa League, they really didn't have any. The formation that they had on paper didn't really match the one that was on the field. But today, Obi Mikel is just keeps getting better and better and better. He keeps blocking the pass lanes. He's really pretty much everywhere.
And Hüseyin and Hüseyini, who you pointed out doesn't get enough credit, he had a great match. They really locked up Burak basically the entire match. And the way that Nkunku basically got locked down for the majority of the match, he had a couple of really good moments. I think he had like a really good cross in the second half that Burak barely missed.
Yep.
Nkunku had a couple of good moments, and then, as you said, Diaby had some good moments. But all in all, if you look at the injuries Trabzonspor have, the players they're missing, and still the match they managed to put forward, because, like I said, the first 30 minutes or so were evenly matched. But Trabzonspor had their moments in those first 30 minutes too, and they never panicked. I think even let's say that Burak shoots that free kick in, or they get a penalty and they score. I don't think Trabzon will be phased by that, and that's the main difference, because Besiktas do get phased. As soon as they concede, it's over. Because they have absolutely no confidence in themselves right now.
I mean, generally, Trabzonspor do have a problem after conceding that they, I don't think I don't know if it's coming from higher up, if it's a problem with Karaman or the players, but as in they really slouch a little bit after conceding, and you always see that at Trabzonspor, which is kind of annoying. But the games at home are just really different. The supporters have been going to the matches in mass, for the last couple of years, and pretty much every home match is near of a sellout. So it's really hard to play in Trabzon, with the humidity and all the screaming fans and all the chaos that surrounds the game. That always has a pretty good effect for Trabzonspor and a bad effect for the opponent. So even though when we play away, we have a lot of supporters that also join, but we also generally have a problem, with a lack of concentration after getting a goal, conceding a goal. But as I said, at home, I don't think those things will happen. And the main point was pretty much that the team, kept the formation. They didn't really slouch up. I looked at a heat map of the game after the game, and it was pretty much how it was supposed to be. Normally we have a problem with Abdülkadir Parmak, trying to join the attack a lot, but he didn't this game, because every time he does, there's a big void in the midfield, and the opponent can really, easily take advantage of that. But as I said, Besiktas is going through some hard times. I know that as a Trabzonspor fan, we had the same stuff happening last year. I remember a game, I think the Europa League game that you guys had, where the supporters were chanting for Sezgin to come back. I'm not really a fan of, having club legends return, even though it seems to work out with, Karaman at the moment. I saw it with Hami at Trabzonspor, with Shota, with Tolunay. It's kind of bad if you a player that everyone liked back in the days, and if you bring him in and he doesn't have any victories and good matches, that at the end of the day you're going to hate him.
Yeah, it tarnishes their legacy, and that's the last thing you want.
Yeah,
in this situation.
When I think of Sezgin, I think of the the wonderful free kicks, his punditry on air, and I pretty much think that the Besiktas fans are all already thinking about stuff like those. If he comes to coach the team. But you don't want to screw his legacy up a bit. With a team like Besiktas, it's really hard to have a good team going. Because you're fighting with the finances, you're fighting with having huge personalities, you're fighting with the pressure that the supporters, that the fans as Charchanzo have on the team. It's really a hard job to fulfill. But it is pretty much the ebb and flow of Turkish football. Every couple of years, a team that is traditionally a part of the top four just fucks up for a couple of years, and there comes a new manager or a new president, and it pumps the money in. It goes good for 2 years, and it's just a cycle.
But that's the thing that doesn't really work anymore in the financial fair play era, where you can't just come and pump in a lot of money. Okay, I mean, I know there's ways around it. We're seeing it at Fenerbahçe right now, where Ali Koç is finding ways to pump money into the club. But still, it's not as it once was, and it's not like the down periods we're seeing now. For example, Fenerbahçe last season and now Besiktas right now. Obviously, there's still a long way to go. There's still 28 matches left in the season, but I don't think Besiktas can just turn this around. I think they're heading for a similar season to Fenerbahçe last season, and potentially even worse. I mean, they have less points right now than Fenerbahçe had last season. It's after 6 games. I believe Fener had 6 points after 6 matches last season, and Besiktas now have 5, which is their worst start to the season since, well, I know last week their worst start was since 2001, but I'm pretty sure that we had more points in 2001 after 6 games. So it's really poor at the moment. I don't see any light at the end of the tunnel at the moment. And I don't know what you exactly meant by the issue of personalities, because I actually think the problem that they have is that they perhaps lack some personalities. Like I said before, I think they're lacking some players that can stand up and take that team on their backs, like a Sosa at Trabzonspor right now, for example. Like I said, you'd expect Laic to do it, but yeah.
No, the way I meant it, every team has a couple of players that can fuck up, the team chemistry by doing, by having bad decisions during games. Before Quaresma went away, he was one of those players that, it was a ticking time bomb, I think, I saw, I don't know if you saw it, there was a little bit of commotion between Burak and Sosa yesterday, stuff like that. I know that it sometimes works in their favor of the team, that it brings everyone together to fight a common goal, so to say. But having a player like Burak or Caner at the left back, even though he seems to have calmed down a bit, you have to have a captain that is like, cut the shit, don't fight it every time, don't cry, don't go for this, don't go for that, just play your game, and that is what.
Yeah, but now I think you're looking a little bit more at the history of the players, because I don't think that Burak has shown that at Besiktas so far. He's not been an issue. He's definitely not been a poor impact on the dressing room. I think the same can be said about Caner right now. I don't think that's one of the problems the Besiktas don't have right now. One of the few problems they don't have right now. But we spent plenty of time on speaking on Trabzonspor Besiktas, and mainly, of course, about the woes Besiktas are going through. Jakub, you're just joining us for this short segment, of course, because you have some stuff to do this week. Thank you very much for shedding your light on the Trabzonspor's match, and good luck in the Europa League this week, and hopefully Besiktas can get a result at home against Wolves. I'm really dreading that match, but we're moving on now to Monday results. And then finally on Monday, our final match of match day 6 was Gaziantep Football Club. That's the new name of Gazişehir. Newsflash, they changed their name officially from Gazişehir to Gaziantep Football Club. But for this match, it was still Gazişehir, but we will henceforth just refer to them as Gaziantep. And they played Göztepe. This match ended 1-1, goals here coming from Guray Voral in the 58th minute after Beto got sent off. The Göztepe goalkeeper got sent off in the 50th minute for handling the ball outside of the box. Very dumb move by Beto. So 8 minutes later, Guray Voral finally put Gaziantep Football Club 1-0 up. That was deserved, I felt like, but Umut will tell us a little bit more in a bit. But then in the end, Berkan Emir with a wayward cross salvages a point for Göztepe. It kind of reminded me a little bit of that John Carew goal in the Champions League back in 2001. But I'm going back really, really far right now. Umut, tell us a little bit more about the final match of match day 6 in the Turkish Super League.
Well, it was a great game, to be honest, because the first half was just boring, but second half was full of mysteries. The game was balanced before the red card incident. After a long ball behind the Göztepe defense, they were slow and ball bounced right in front of Beto, but who was also his box, and he couldn't reach it because of his height, and handled it to prevent the goal. But I think a goalkeeper of his caliber and experience should have done better there, because and he handled the ball and sent off after that around 50th minute for Göztepe, and young Göktuğ went in the goal, and he had so he doesn't have so much experience, to be honest, and not too much after that, a cross from Guray Vural just bounced in front of Göktuğ and went into the net for a Gazişehir, and it should be referred as Gaziantep FK, I don't know. And this goal brought them into the lead, and after that goal, Gaziantep, they dropped back to secure their lead and 3 points, also hoping for a counter-attack in front of Göztepe. But I think Tamer Tuna has to give some explanation about how Göztepe defense is so bad and cannot defend at all, because Gazişehir missed too many chances, especially inside the second half, as Göztepe brought their defensive line higher up, hoping to find a goal there, but defensive play wasn't their priority anymore, and Gazişehir found too many gaps and open chances. I don't believe how they miss all of those chances with Muhammed Demir and all their African strikers. They missed too many chances in front of goal, tap-ins just inches away from the empty net. And we shall say the golden rule of football, atamayana atarlar. Eventually, if you miss these kind of chances, you're gonna concede. And at 82nd minute, Berkan Emir, as you told before, the left back scored a magnificent goal, which reminded me of Haji's goal against Colombia at the time, from the similar kind of point to the back post. Maybe he crossed it or maybe he shot it, but I think he shot it because he was looking like preparing to hit it, like going to strike it with a power. And I think that's the goal of the week for me after İrfan Can's goal this week. And after conceding, Gaziantep went to an attacking philosophy once again, but missed many chances once again. And if Gaziantep was a bit more careful in front of goal, they could win the game rather easily and any issues at all. But looking at the lineup, you would think Göztepe would be a good position team with a passing play with players such as Castro, Mosoro, Soner Aydoğdu, but we haven't seen it yet. They have also pacey wingers who can run past the opponents like Halil Akbunar or like
Serdar?
Sardar, Yasin, if you can add him as well.
Mm-hmm.
But they couldn't never work it out. So
yeah, they're probably the only team worse than Besiktas right now.
Also, at the end of the game, there was a 7 minute of additional time at the end, which was definitely a nightmare for Göztepe to play with 10 men and a youngster goalkeeper in their goal. And I think their height as a team is lower than expected as well. And it's really hard for them to defend all those crosses and all. And eventually game ended 1-1, which is a letdown for Gazişehir and a golden point for Göztepe for that kind of play.
Yeah, Gaziantep will be kicking themselves after that draw. They should have always won this match, especially against 10 man. But obviously they're in a good position in the league. Burak, could you quickly go over the league standings following matchday 6, please?
Absolutely. So at the top, Alanyaspor are still top. Second is Fenerbahçe. Third, Gaziantep Football Club. Both on 11 points, but Fenerbahçe ahead on both goal difference and the head-to-head. Then in fourth place, Sivasspor, fifth, Konya, and sixth, Galatasaray. Actually, Galatasaray and Trabzon are on the same points, both on 9 points there. If we look at the bottom, you've got Gençlerbirligi propping up in 18th with 2 points, Kayseri in 17th with 3 points, and then Besiktas in 16th with 5 points. And just ahead of them, you have Göztepe and Kasımpaşa. So not much change with the bottom two. Besiktas dropping in there after the loss to Trabzon, and teams around them picking up points like Göztepe, Kasımpaşa, and Ankaragücü. And that is the standings at the end of matchday 6.
Yeah, and it really feels like Fenerbahçe were, after last season, like, oh, I bet none of you can do worse than that. And Beşiktaş were just like, hold my beer. Anyway, let's look quickly at the fixtures for next week. We have Malatyaspor, Denizlispor, and Fenerbahçe Antalyaspor on Friday. On Saturday, we have Kasımpaşa against Konyaspor, Göztepe Kayserispor, Gençlerbirligi and Galatasaray. And then on Sunday, we have Sivasspor against Ankaragücü, Beşiktaş Alanyaspor. That's a one to watch. Gaziantep Football Club, Başakşehir, and finally the Black Sea Derby, Rizespor, Trabzonspor. So that's it for next week. Well, anyway, guys, thank you very much for joining me once again for Football All Turca, and thank you, listeners, for listening. And let's not forget, İki Burak, İki Burak. Happy birthday, my friend.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. The best birthday present you can give me is by keeping on listening to Football Alla Turca and letting us know what you'd like us to discuss. And as you said, Kaan, you would pick Vedat Muric to go into your side, a player from any other team. At this moment in time, my choice from any team to come into the Fenerbahçe team would be Anthony Nwakayeme of Trabzonspor.
Oh man.
Oh, actually, maybe Nzonzi. I don't know. Difficult. He was really good against PSG yesterday, I felt, and he was also really good against Fenerbahçe, and he's starting to come into his own. But yeah, Vedat and Nzonzi both. If I can have two, I'll take those, please. That'll be it for me.
In your dreams.
Yeah. Anyway, goodbye, people. We'll see you again next week.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.